Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Wolfram language design review. This is part of our language completeness and consistency series, and we have a variety of topics. Padding.
So there are probably cases that you may have in mind that aren't covered by this, but I want to get to other things on the agenda as well. But these are the three most recent cases I think that you've sent of padding issues.
Oh, these are crazy, just bonkers.
So there's a little summary. Well, overall summary. I don't know how illuminating it is, but
okay. All right.
And the short answer is, I mean, the base, at least two of the three come down to, how we measure things weren't accurate.
Well, we faked something sometime. Like our wonderful discussion, which isn't our fault, about font sizes and things.
Right.
If we fake what the actual bounding box of a graphic is, because we don't want, for example, the bounding frame to be sliced or something, so we fake it slightly, that fakery is going to compound.
Yes.
So, I mean, go ahead.
Right. I mean, okay. So this first one is, I think, a consequence of, a change a few years ago, with spherical region and, related to shrink wrap. And it's just a case of, so spherical region is automatic by default, which is one behavior when the graphic is on its own, sort of, and, is false when it's on its own and true when it's in certain constructs. And so I measure it and it's false, and then when it gets deployed, it ends up being true. And so I just need to.
So it's a bug.
Yeah, it's a bug. It's fixable.
Brett's code just measured the wrong thing, effectively.
Okay, so that's going to fix the 3D graphic absurd overspacing. Is that correct?
Yes. And the same fix I should be able to make for image 3D, which I think you said you were also seeing it.
Yes. Okay. All right. So that's that case. So that one was just a bug. Fine. But now there are lots of other cases where I think it's graphics with frames, with labels and things like that, where it just kind of goes, like this. What the hell happened here? Yeah, what the hell happened here?
This one I don't fully understand yet.
Yeah, well, I mean, I suspect you mismeasured something again. Go ahead.
I was going to say I'm certain of that, because if you look at the thing below it, it's still not perfect, but it's much closer. And again, it's somehow image size multipliers is coming into play somehow, but this is a case where it's labeled of graphic, and so the usual tools don't apply.
Well, or they don't currently apply. The absolute options stuff doesn't probably propagate through labeled.
Right.
It doesn't even make sense.
Right. I mean, it would return labeled options.
Yeah, I understand.
I think the real solution for this case is to treat the to tear the labeled apart and treat the two parts separately.
As you say, I mean, look, this is a good example because you got to be able to. I mean, this is clearly wrong, so let's figure out how we fix it. I mean, to me, it looks like it probably picked up. So God knows what it did, but I mean, you'll just have to analyze it. I don't know. And the question in the end is, how much space should there be by default in a bunch of these situations? And I think we may, in the end, have to come up with a more nuanced padding description than we've had to cover all these things. But maybe we should first track down the bugs. Have you? Let's see. How would we detect? Yeah. Okay. So look, here's the thing. Anytime that somebody could look through code of mine, like from posts that I've written and so on, and look for spacings, arrow, and negative number. Okay.
That is always a good indication that you're resorting to extreme measures.
Yeah, that something's gone horribly wrong. Because I think there's many graphics grid examples of that, etc.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, somebody maybe could, somebody could just try and take. I think Kristen is, handling those things, but could try and take that and do some kind of
Right. I mean, and yeah, and you know, sort of detect those cases. I mean, so like that one that's in the middle of the screen right now, where there's like huge and increasing amounts of white space between the plots. If you like double click on one of the plots, you'll get the rectangle that is the inset that I'm putting things into.
Which is just completely bonkers.
And
yeah, but see, but look, even looking at that inset, look at the space above it. There's something wrong with that.
Well, isn't that just spacings?
No, the space above it right there.
Right.
That space is spacings.
Of a graphics grid.
Right.
It wasn't.
Right.
Okay. Right, you didn't. So if you set spacings goes to 0 in the graphics row there, then that space above and below presumably should not be there.
I thought spacings was giving the horizontal space here.
It's giving both, right?
Please tell me it didn't increase. No, it's changed. Try the list 0, 0. I don't remember offhand if graphics row is special casing that setting, but
yeah, so
well, it's a little bit weird. I mean, it should. Okay, so you're right. I never would have guessed that. I never would have guessed that. The graphics row really actually has a inter-row spacing parameter somehow hidden underwater in it.
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, of course, the problem is graphics row is just a specialization of graphics grid.
Yeah, but you know that. But your average user, including me, doesn't necessarily know that. I might suspect it, but that's only because I know the history of its implementation and things.
Well, I mean, I would expect graphics row, graphics column, and graphics grid to be closely related.
I know that, but one would. But the
fact I mean, I would also expect row, column, and grid to be closely related. We know that's not true.
Yes, well, right. Yes. So, okay, but in any case, just all of this random, I don't think there should be spaces above and below here. I'm sorry. It just shouldn't be like that. It's just wrong. And I mean,
I don't know that it's just wrong. I mean, I tried unsuccessfully last week to, basically do, what was it? Graphics row of graphics column. Graphics row of a bunch of graphics columns.
Mm-hmm.
And in an application like that, I would want.
No, you don't. It's a graphics row. It fits things horizontally.
No, right. Oh, okay, never mind.
It fits
Stephen, let me just clarify. So you are claiming that there should be no spacing in graphics row, but that this would be different from, for example, a graphics grid that has only one row in it.
Absolutely. It's not the same thing. Just like yes, absolutely not the same thing.
John, there are already places where graphics row is different from one row graphics grid.
I'm not. let me be clear. I'm not fighting or arguing or complaining. I'm just clarifying.
Right. You're not
Gotcha.
making a value judgment.
Oh, okay.
All right. Okay, so look, I'm encouraging you to go look at other places where negative spacings have been used. I would also look at places where I know, I think Brad Klee has been doing this a bit recently, using row of graphics, because graphics row is so hopeless. He's something of a critic of graphics row. Could talk to him. I mean,
I'm a critic of graphics row.
well,
yeah, right. Your solution was to remove graphics row from the system, was it not?
yeah, but okay, but we need graphics row. It's very useful functionality.
Mhm.
The ability to have something where you can, take the whole thing and shrink it. It's really useful.
Right.
But
Yes.
but I mean, and it's different from the row functionality. It just has to be gotten right, which this isn't.
So why is the white space decreasing there, right? Basically they're staying the same height and the white space is decreasing.
God knows. I mean, this is what Brett,
Because
yeah.
the contents of that inset isn't resizing right now. Because it's not resizable. Which, I mean, earlier today I found an old email from John on a thread about this, but I haven't.
All right, you're going to
Analyze
sort
it
it out.
yet.
You're going to sort it out.
Yeah.
Did
There's-
we look at all at the middle case? I don't think we did.
Which case?
Right, so this is case
The middle case is another measuring thing.
Okay.
It's gonna get maybe a little bit hairy, but
Okay.
um,
So case 2, you're claiming is just the bug.
it's essentially just a bug.
All right, look, I think we've got an infestation of bugs here. So let's get, and I had no idea that extra space above and below, that's crazy, is a vestigial, it's the thing used to walk on the land, but now it only needs fins, but it still has one of its legs hanging off.
I was gonna say, I'm
Crazy.
reminded that apparently some people have like a little dimple in their ear that's a remnant of gills.
Really? Okay, fair enough. Well, this is our version of that. So let's get rid of it. It's. I had no idea. I mean, this is that's been there for years. That's crazy. Okay, but so let's do another iteration of this. Let's look at. Please talk to Brad Klee, because I think he's got a bunch of examples, and sounds like this may just be a bug fixing issue. But we may also run into things.
It's probably 80% bug fixing and 20%, needing to figure out, some alternative mechanism for something.
Okay, fine. We'll come to that when we come to that.
Yep.
All right, let's move on. Absolute options.
Woo!
Why is that a woo?
I like absolute options.
Okay.
I think more things should support absolute options.
Yeah, well, when they don't lie.
Right. So, this is mostly documentation, maybe a little bit of implementation. So I have here sort of suggested replacement for the main usage. And then sort of the table I've been able to collect of, things that do support it or might support it. And so, question 1 is, are we, what do we think about this?
Okay, hold on. Gives the absolute settings. I wouldn't use settings as a word like that, because we've also got a settings, for dynamic. We've also got the notion of settings for a dynamic.
Mhm.
I would say absolute.
Should it be
Okay,
values?
I mean, I'm gonna say first off that remember that absolute options returns the entire option. Which I'm going to propose that we should also have like an absolute option values, but we don't have to decide that today.
Do we have option? We have option value, but that's pattern matching construct, right?
Mhm.
But does
Right,
that?
I mean that
Well,
ties
it's
into
not a pattern
options
matching. It's it's not exactly pattern matching, but it is used in down values, right? To resolve.
But if we said option value, I mean, if we had a thing where, we had option value of graphics, of disk, of whatever, comma, is this obviously stupid to say, to essentially have a pre-first? Okay, so this, doesn't work, but this, I would argue that first thing should work because this is going to work. Why not have this work as well?
I don't. I mean, there can already be, sort of general expressions in that first argument, right? It can be a list of options. It can be a combination of heads and lists and options. I think.
Can it? Wait a minute. Can it?
Yes.
Let me look.
Fourth note, I believe.
Yeah, you can mix or match pretty extensively.
What can you mix and match?
Symbols and lists of options.
Okay, but that's still not the same signature as this type of thing.
No.
No, but I mean, this is right. I think this is just sort of really wrong, right? It's, you have sort of an explicit.
Well, I mean, it's not entirely different. I mean, to the extent that, so Stephen, if you do option value of graphics comma plot range.
I just did that.
Oh, so right. So that is sort of equivalent, Itai, to option value of options of graphics comma plot range. and so, I could argue that option value already essentially will wrap
right. Well, I guess
things in options, which is all that it would have to do for that first example to work.
But if you do you do options of graphics of disk bracket, right? It returns an empty list, right?
Right. It would have to be list of options of graphics of disk and then comma graphics or something to get.
To get what?
To get all in that case.
Well, so
you're missing. You're missing the.
I see. It didn't. The problem is that it didn't explicitly have. If this had had,
you need an empty list in the second argument, and that's not going to work either. Yeah, you need an empty list in the. It's in the wrong place. It's not inside the graphics. That plot.
Okay, that's just stupid. Yeah.
But even accepting that, I don't think that this is going to do anything.
Except it's going to work.
Oh. Right. Yeah. So this works.
Was this sent to me? Oh, was this in Dropbox or not?
Yes.
I think I have to separately put it there. Where was it? It goes in LCC.
That's right, LCC.
Okay. Go ahead.
Right. I mean, right. And so, right. And what happens if you then give the
well, I'm arguing this. I'm arguing this should work, but let's not cross that bridge because the question you're asking here is,
right. So I'm basically eliminating the fourth usage and sort of
Yeah, I understand.
refining what the description of the first is.
I don't think you should say visual interface object, because I can imagine this being used for some random blob, some machine learning blob or something.
Well, I guess, right. Well, then the question is, should it work with, an integrate?
Well, maybe yes, if it came back if the thing came back in a nounified form. I would say, what I would do here is say obj here instead of expa, and gives the absolute.
Yes, the question is the machine learning blob likely to have implicit option values, and if so, how would it be resolved?
I think yes on the implicit option values for sure. Resolution, I don't know. I mean, I think that the information function often resolves some of those things. Okay, so I mean, I would say absolute options of obj gives the list of absolute why don't you just say gives the absolute settings of options in the graphics or other object obj.
Okay, well, I guess why are we singling out graphics then?
Well, then let's not. Let's not. I mean, we could say, because this is a whole. Just because it gives some hope of being able to say, I mean, this is a random collection.
It's not complete. It's really not that random. It is. Which is why I wrote the note the way I did. It's, things coming. First of all, it's basically all things that come from the front end. And second of all, it's either front end objects directly, which are the last four, or it's things that are essentially graphics like.
Okay, let me make a suggestion. Gives the absolute settings of options. Because the basic point is that the options are sitting inside obj. Right? That's the unusual thing.
Not necessarily.
They pretty much are.
No.
Not necessarily.
If you do absolute options of graphics, bracket, image size, there's no option sitting inside of graphics, and yet that's going to resolve to 360 in a normal notebook.
Or there might be an option, and the option is automatic. So then it's getting its number from elsewhere.
I would just then keep it neutral. Gives the absolute settings of options specified for the object obj. Absolute options can be used with the following objects, types of objects. And this ordering is insane. What's this ordering doing here?
Well, it's alphabetical of kernel things and then alphabetic order of front end things, which is, which is useful for discussion. That may not be the correct thing for the final.
I would just ask.
I mean, the front end things are listed, from biggest to smallest.
Yeah,
Oh
so
yeah, I guess that's true.
it might be useful to just split it into 2 tables.
Yeah, why not? And this one, for goodness sake, just start with graphics 3D, because those are the famous ones. Surely graph 3D should work if graph works.
Right. Yeah. I don't know, Charles. Is there some deep reason why this
I mean,
graph?
Graph 3D is just getting tripped up because Graph 3D evaluates to graph. And so, it's getting confused at the moment about which options it actually should care about.
Okay, fine. You guys will deal with this. All right. What else do we have to talk about absolute options?
Right. So then there's a question of image. I mean, I think we all agree that tree should. I don't know if image should.
Absolutely.
Yes.
If it can, it should.
I mean, I want the graphics 3D options out of the image stuff.
Okay.
Which might involve, a little bit of, stuff that isn't actually documented or something, but.
Right. And then the only other thing is, right, there is sort of a difference between the kernel-y things and the front end things, right? If you give it, if you ask for a front end thing, then it will tell you the God's honest truth, because it's going to go to the front end and say, oh, I'm looking at this object, here's how the front end is rendering it. Now, if you do a kernel object, then it's going to sort of try to embed it in a notebook and get some of the things right. In fact, I don't know exactly how it works. Maybe Brett wants to speak to that. But for example, as I noted in the agenda, if you do graphics and you change the style sheet, it'll pick up the changes to plot range. But if you make your notebook super narrow so that the default value of automatic is now smaller than specified by the style sheet, that won't get picked up if you do absolute options of graphics. And the question is this something we want to document? Is this some things we consider bugs? Is this something we just sort of live with for now?
I think I classify it as implementation detail.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember offhand what it's doing. I mean, I think should be following the behavior of rasterize pretty closely in terms of how it is propagating style stuff. But I don't remember.
I wasn't fully paying attention to this. Do you want to? Do I need to understand this?
Right. So, absolute options of graphics of bracket, comma, image size. Okay, now make the notebook super narrow and reevaluate that. It's the same, even though if you were to actually evaluate that graphics, it would have been smaller.
Hold on. Let me understand this. So I do that, but then if I actually copy down and do it again, it still does that. So now I'm confused.
If you just do graphics bracket on its own, then what you would end up with would be smaller.
Maybe put a disk in it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
is it actually smaller?
Maybe you need to make it a bit narrower, but at some point it would become.
Okay.
And
now, if I say if I say options, what happens if I say absolute options of?
Now, if you do absolute, well, it'll still be wrong. But if you right click. Well, I don't know exactly how you get to it, but if you could reference that box object there.
I can, but I don't see how it I don't see how to get it.
John, is there an easy way to get the box object we're pointing at?
Give me a second here.
That's a no.
Yeah.
Right.
It's,
Yeah, but
it's not the easiest thing.
if you did
but it
that
can be
absolute
done.
options call in the help browser, then
Yeah,
you would get different numbers.
Right, because that's coming from the style sheet, not from
Right, so what's happening here? Where is this coming from? Why is it not picking up the as built version?
Because it doesn't have the, it doesn't have the object as displayed in a front end. Right. I mean, at the point that you query absolute options, it may not even exist in a front end.
Okay.
But it knows what notebook it's evaluating in.
So the basic claim is this: absolute options is a final resolution type returner. I mean, in a sense, but the problem is when it is called, it cannot give a lazy result. It has to give an immediate result, but that immediate result may simply not be known.
Correct.
Right, unless you have an explicit reference, right? If you use notebook selection to select precisely the notebook element you're looking at, then that can be fully resolved because it's right there, fully resolved.
No, I understand. But
if you have a graphics expression, who knows where that will actually end up in the notebook.
But this is a deeper problem, because the deeper problem is absolute options says it's absolute, but actually absoluteness is not as absolute as it claims, because sometimes it can't be absolute.
Correct.
It is a good faith attempt at absolute.
I know that, but
Yes.
but the issue is you don't know that you don't know. See what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's an argument that absolute options should have more controls, like a third argument or something, that basically says either do the best you can or let me know if you don't know. Like it says, indeterminate or some such other thing. I kind of think that's what we have to do. Either that, or in a future world when we have, when we have laziness fully, eagerly implemented, so to speak, that it could return some kind of lazy object. Because that's what it should do. I mean, this is just wrong. That image size result. See what I'm saying? It's unresolvable. There are some things where absolute options successfully resolves, right? The plot range, it successfully resolves, but the image size, it does not. And it should make that clear. Does that make sense? I mean, I bet I've got bugs in my code from assuming that this was actually the actual image size. Am I making sense?
Mm-hmm. Right. Although I guess the question is, so how much will we break by just returning indeterminate now?
I don't think we should do that by default, but I think we should have. I think we should have a third element of absolute options that says, be honest.
That's something we could think about. Yeah.
I think that's the escape valve for this, because we can get to different levels of honesty. Because, for example, another thing that could happen is you could know what the value is up to some font metrics that you don't know. See what I'm saying? So you could have a pretty good idea. It's about 300 pixels, but it might actually be 307 pixels. And for some purposes, just knowing 300 is good enough. John, do you have any comments on this?
Sorry, I was still trying to get it to work on a box object, which I was able to get the box object, and then things didn't work as I expected. So I think there's
okay.
There are bugs. There are bugs, not a bug.
Yes.
Okay. All right. But anyway, should I repeat the issue? I'm just
sorry.
I'm just saying that there are different levels of certainty about absolute options. I claim there is we can resolve it, we can nail it. The answer is 17.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's sorry, we just have no idea It depends what shape of window you're in.
Yeah.
And there's, I claim, some intermediate cases where it is resolvable up to the details of font metric data. For example, let's say I can imagine a case where you know it's 12-point type, and you can kind of guess it's roughly this height, but the actual descenders in that font might be different. Do you see that or not?
I don't think your third case is really an issue.
Okay, fine. All right, well then there are two possible values for the third argument. One is, it's give me the best you can now, and the other is wait if you have to. And possibly the wait if you have to will return some kind of promissory object or lazy object at some point in the future. Make sense? Can we move on?
We can move on.
Good. Okay. I think it's a decent approach to this because it gets us out of this box. All right, find shortest tour.
Right, so you were complaining about at some point that what you really want out of find shortest tour is the length of the tour.
No, I don't want the length. I actually almost never want the length. I usually want the elements.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Look, I think the right solution to this is, what's the second argument to find shortest tour, if it has one? Why is this not giving me a raft? Look at this. I'm up a creek without a raft, so to speak.
Well, there's always double click.
Look at this. No, I don't care about, I care about the bug. Look at this, John.
Yeah,
You
I
see
it.
this?
Does it happen with other symbols? It's just not doing it for anything right now.
What the hell?
Do you have a delay, maybe?
No, my rafts are broken.
In a new note, try a different notebook.
I'm going to go to 125%, see if that makes any difference. The rafts are gone.
If you go back to 100%,
No, I don't think it will make any difference.
That would be a truly shocking bug.
Let me just try a new. Am I in the prototype build?
You might be, given that color. I don't think that coloring has been merged to master.
No, look, that's probably my specific setting. Oh, this is prototype build, so this must just be a bug in the prototype build.
Could be. I'll take a look.
Okay, now remind me how to get this without a
Double click, Shift Command F.
Wow, that's like ancient history.
Right, so FindShortestTour take at least 3 arguments. The last 2 are the starting and end vertex.
So there's no way to control the format of the output.
And I don't think we should do that specifically for this. We have a set of functions, FindShortestPath, FindShortestTour, FindShortestCycles, which are all the same family.
Sorry, say that again.
I say we right after we added new function which are in the same family, FindShortestPath, cycle, tour, and such.
Okay, fine. But answer me the following question. Okay, I find it really inelegant that I have to say this 2. It's not really element 2. There's no 2 about it. It's the path. So that's my problem. Charles, what do you suggest about it?
And I agree. I mean, this is we just kept that because of backward compatibility. For all the new function, we actually return, the path or the vertex you want. So at the time, the point is we can introduce a new function for that.
Wait, so you're saying find shortest. So what are the others? Find shortest have,
Find shortest path, find Hamiltonian path, cycles.
Well, find shortest path.
and those
They's expected graph.
What? FindShortestTour also take a graph.
No, I understand that.
oh, but those return a graph rather than.
That is
So you have to
very
put-
inelegant. I'm
Okay,
sorry, that's
okay.
very inelegant.
Oh, we
So
need
find,
to.
okay, find shortest tour predates graphs.
Right, we need to use the new summary box. Probably something I need to do.
Yeah. Okay, but in any case, yes, that's a Avery, that's a thing to track, please.
Yep, I got it.
So let's see. So the basic point, if this had an actual path, fine, it would just give the path. So we got a screwy situation here. The tour, that find shortest path would be, that would be graph distance, right? To give the distance, correct?
Yes, close.
I mean, that's the length of the shortest path, is it not? -1, whatever.
Right.
Okay, so we got an ugly duckling here. We've got this one. What's the other one? Find shortest tour and.
So we have find Hamiltonian path, for example, which also return a path. We have find Hamiltonian cycle. We have.
Yeah. Okay. So we have so find shortest tour is the odd fish out because oh boy, what a mess. What a frigging mess. What would happen if we called this find shortest cycle? If we had that be the thing that just returns the cycle there.
Well, it's not a cycle, right? It doesn't close.
Yes, it does. Look at it. 1-to-1. It's a tour. It
Oh.
closes.
Okay. I guess I was looking.
What's the other thing that we do? The other thing that we can do on Geo that isn't find shortest tour. What's the other one of those? Do you understand what I'm asking? There's which of these also works on Geo?
I know that we extended find shortest tour to work on entity and such, but I don't remember. Maybe just the Geo team can say. Maybe Jose here can say more about it. I don't remember anything related to Geo.
I think it's FindShortestTour, the one that works in.
Is that the only one?
As far as I know, yes.
Yep, we take entities and such, right? We extended it to.
Although looking at, if you look at the basic examples, they're sort of, it's still using country data.
Oh, for God's freaking sake, that should get fixed. Okay, listen, look, here's my suggestion. That find shortest tour, that we have a find shortest cycle, that I don't understand what the difference between that and find cycle is, but find shortest cycle would be the thing for graphs. You see what I'm saying? And that we somehow find a way to tease apart the sort of traveling salesman tour thing on, Geo and data and separate its results. Separate from, do you get what I'm saying? I don't understand why find shortest tour has two things here. I thought it was a tour. Comes back to where it starts from again.
No, so so this is another, custom version of FindShortestTour where you can actually, add another constraint in that optimization problem where you want to minimize the length between those two specific vertices.
Okay, lovely. All right, fine. But we've got a big muddle puddle here because we've got like 4 different functions that are all in the same function. So let's enumerate what the functions actually are. Okay, you've got find shortest cycle, which is a graph theoretic function, if I'm not wrong.
Theoretically, in principle, they're all actually just graph, because even the other case behind the scene, you actually have the graph, which are in the complete graph in those cases. That's why we decided at the time to not have a specific new function for graph.
Sandra on our live stream has suggests a saving idea here, which is why not do the thing we've done for nearest and so on, and just have something like this, where we go arrow path or arrow length there. Why not? Same as we do for nearest. That makes sense to people.
Isn't it the nearest controlling like the distance function, not what you output?
No, it's not. It's controlling what you output.
We do this in take largest too.
Yeah, it controls which thing you output here. See? This is a good way to do it. And we have a pattern for this.
Yep. Makes sense to me.
Thank you, Sander. You saved possibility of several other functions. I noticed you also just sent a message about our previous meeting, which I think, well, maybe it's worth bringing up here, but I'm not sure it's quite the right set of people, that we goofed by talking about position largest by, that it makes absolutely no sense, because you just map the function onto the data and you get the same result. There's no reason to have a position largest by, because unlike things where because position is not returning the data anymore, so it doesn't sully, like if you do take largest, right? Do people understand what I'm saying? If I say take largest, whatever it is, by, and I say take largest by, and then, I don't know, minus hash sign or something, right? I can't just map that function onto this data, because then I will have sullied the data. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
Whereas in position largest by, that's not true, because position is never going to return the data anyway. So you might as well just map over the data and sully the data, because you'll never see it. So I think Sandra is right in that position largest by makes no sense. Position largest is fine. Position largest by simply shouldn't exist.
Does position largest by make sense as a curried form?
Let's think about that. I think barely. I mean, why not just do, if you really want to go curry crazy, why don't you just say map F list and then position. I mean, I don't think it's terribly exciting. Isn't it just this? And I don't know. Doesn't float my boat to see. I don't think there's anything notable about the currying.
Yeah.
By the way, am I getting these colors in here because this is the prototype builder because I have them set specially? Does anybody know?
I believe that's the new color. It's certainly reasonably close to what I see.
There are colors set in the prototype build, but you might have them set specially on your system. I don't.
Okay. I'm really liking these colors. I'm really finding them useful. I don't know why we didn't do this before. It was just goofy. Now, have we brightened the oops. Of course, that doesn't do anything because I need to get rid of that. Yeah, we still need to brighten that. We should brighten this. The unmatched bracket color. Right, we talked about that before, right?
Yeah, I haven't been given anything from design.
Okay, so can somebody poke that, please? Who was PMing that?
It came up in user assistance, which would be Glory, but I don't remember if that's where the. I mean, because we've met multiple times about this.
Okay, so Avery, could you check with
meetings.
Glory and/or Jeremy to find out what's happened to the various colors that are needed?
Yep, I can follow up on that.
Okay. All right. I think we got a solution for this. I think let's see, it's basically path. I think it's indices, right? I think Sandra actually gave us a suggestion here. Path, indices, and length. Well, length is allowed, isn't it? I think it's distance. Right? I mean, it would be path, which gives the actual entries, indices, which gives which positions in the original list they are in order, right? Does that make sense to people?
Mm-hmm.
And then distance, which is the distance, which in the case of a graph is the graph distance. In the case of whatchamajig is, in the case of geo, it's the geographic distance, right? So they're both distances.
Well, it depends how you look at it. If you look at the path, we have geo length, not geo distance.
Yeah, I think it's length.
I mean, if you look at it from a geometric point of view, it will be arc length.
Yes, okay. But it also is, each one is a distance. I mean, what worries me is that length suggests more the number of elements in the list.
Yes. I understand that.
But
Totally.
even in the documentation, I think one of the last entry in FindShortestTour, we actually try to explain it that way. We say the shortest path length because of that issue, I think.
So what's your point there?
That length should be fine. I mean, it's a common term.
Sorry, what are you suggesting? You're suggesting path length or length?
Length.
All right, fine. I just worry that length people will think, I mean, particularly with your constrained version, I guess there's a fixed number of elements. Whatever you do, it's the same elements you're talking about, right?
Right.
There's never a subset. All right. Okay. Sandra is suggesting total length. I think if it's length, it's total length. I'm not. I mean, in other words, I'm not concerned about length being misunderstood for something. Length seems okay to me. Path versus length. Okay, onward. You go further. Need an easier way to render graph nodes with their names in them.
Right, so I don't know what, if anything, is happening with this. These are some discussion points.
Okay, so let's just frame what my issue is, okay?
Mhm.
Being told you have to write a custom vertex shape function to do something that's pretty obvious doesn't sit well, okay? And the pretty obvious thing is that I want I've got a graph and I just want to put, let's just say, okay, here's an example. Let's say I have a random graph. Of course, that's all I can get. Let's just go something a bit more impressive. Oh, for goodness sake, help me. I should learn how to do these with that. Okay, there we go. There's a nice graph. Okay, I want to take this graph and I want to label every node in this graph. I want to make it so that I've got the graph, and now I want to say vertex labels, arrow. Well, I can't do it with vertex labels, I think. What I'm doing almost is, this kind of jazzinorous. Oops, blah, 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 blah.
I mean, so what do you want to do? You want to add names, then you do vertex shape function goes to names.
But it doesn't work properly. Let's see. Oh, where is it? It's not in the autocomplete. Lose the game.
Well, start typing.
No, you already lost the game because this stuff is all irrelevant. A capsule, might be relevant if it was going into orbit, but it isn't otherwise very relevant here. Why is that the autocomplete? Are you telling me that there's things which are specifically meaningful, but they didn't make it into the autocomplete?
Hit the down arrows at the bottom.
They're in the autocomplete. You just
Okay, this was brain dead, if I might say so. Well, where is it? It wasn't even there. Wasn't even there. And where did the autocomplete go, by the way? Okay, look at this. I'm moving my mouse and the autocomplete goes away.
That is weird.
doesn't happen to me.
Well, maybe this is a prototype build issue.
It's with the raft.
It's with the raft, right? They both got pulled down the river.
By the way, I verified that the raft was specific to the prototype build.
Okay, all right. So where is the names?
Yeah, I don't see names anywhere there. So
just not there. It's just nonsense, right? So, okay. So let's try to figure out what this. Okay, so that Charles is claiming. Well, if it's here, it ain't documented, so it doesn't do me any good, really. Charles, help me out.
Probably we forgot to add it in the documentation explicitly there, but there is that option to.
Where is it? But where is it? I mean, Charles, the fact that there's something there, but no, you never told anybody, means it's not very useful.
I agree, and then we can actually document it now. I mean,
What's this? What's this?
Yeah, well, I copied it with the link. You need to copy as plain text. Use Shift-Command-C to copy it, and then.
Let me make a comment about this. Shouldn't this have a click to copy if that's what's going to happen to it?
No. You might want to copy only part of it.
Well, but I can't.
Yes, you can.
Well, what if I want to copy the resource data part?
Well, then you use Shift-Command-C to copy it.
Which I'm never going to know. Never going to know.
Well, the fact that you don't know how to use your own product is.
No, I do know that. I do know that. But I'm saying most people will not know that. Let's
claiming that I'm not most people.
Yes, that's what I'm claiming.
All right, I'll accept that.
Okay, so can we please move that to the documentation meeting to discuss what we should do with this? Because this is a bit, to my mind, a bit confusing, and we probably do better. Okay, but it's not for this meeting. Okay. So now, let's see what happens if I do this. Well, that's sort of lovely if I'd known it existed.
Although it's maybe a bit disappointing that, it's just a naked name.
It is, but I think if I presumably if I say vertex style, I mean, but God knows why this would work, to pink. What the hell? Hello, where's the pink?
You use label style?
Charles?
Well, I have no idea what's happened with the pink.
Is there a label style
So
for graph? I don't remember if there
No.
is.
I mean, if I say vertex size arrow 10 or something, let's say vertex size arrow 2 or something like this. What happened there?
Oh,
Yeah.
there's a white background for this function.
Yeah, so I mean, but vertex style, arrow, edge form. Okay, look, this is not good. Whatever's going on here is not good. Okay, okay. No, no, no. This is losing it.
Can you try setting label
Well,
style
well,
goes to
so
pink?
so let's hold on for a second, right? We can argue all the time for all details, right? So is a name, and if I remember correctly, we put it an insert and we do a bunch of controls so that it appears nice, right? So it's possible that all the additional styling you apply may not, work like you expect that for
Okay,
as a
so we
graphic.
got to fix that. I mean, listen, this functionality that you have, vertex shape function arrow name, even though you kept it secret, is still useful. Okay.
Okay.
I
Okay,
mean,
we'll
look
make
at
a pass and make sure that it all works correctly.
Yeah, but it's secret right now. Where is it?
Yeah. No, we will update this page of vertex shape function. I mean, we wrote it 10 years ago and we added a lot of functionality, some kind of fall through the crack while we were working on the document, other things. We'll make sure to
all right,
update
so
the
there was a goof
documentation.
here. There was a goof here. It stayed secret, right?
The plan is not to keep it secret. It just happened.
Right. Okay, but so let's just understand how this should work. I mean, I guess I'm happy with this. If this can deal with the fact that, let me just do the following. Let's say I want to get some really long names here, really long. Let's do this. Let's say nearest neighbor graph. Okay. Will this do the right thing? We wonder to ourselves. Maybe with I mean, again, you should be setting performance goal to quality automatically in a case like this, because it's never going to work otherwise, right? Well, I would consider this pretty successful, but for the fact that we can't put in the things that we need to put in, which are the additional styling. So, I mean, I guess my question would be, to me, unfortunately, this is, how are you going to do that? How are you going to get both this, which seems like, I think, this just seems very orthogonal to this other, because vertex shape function is usually this very low, and please, when you do the documentation, put in some pure functions here. And I mean, this is, really obscure. I mean, this is just like, you've hidden the main part here, which is this, right?
Right. We will update it.
Fine. Okay, but how do we want to do this with, you get what I'm saying? how do you want to have both the vertex shape function, which could be, normally you would combine the positioning. I mean, if you have a vertex shape function, it overrules vertex style, does it not? That's why nothing's happening here. It's because vertex shape function is the king of all vertex specifiers.
Yes.
Right, you take precedence. Yep.
Right. So I think we don't want that. I think what we want to do is we want to have something else which says to do this. So that vertex shape function stays what it is right now, which is the be all end all, ultimate controller type thing. See what I'm saying? And that instead we want something here which just says, look, we've got, I mean, in a sense, we've got vertex label, which says what should the label of the vertex be, but doesn't, and it then has placed as a way to specify where to put it, right? So maybe what we want is a wrapper like placed or a setting for placed, which says to do this, because that seems like a better place for the placed thing, because then if we've got it placed, we can have whatever styling we want. Like in here, in this case here, I can say, can I not? Well, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, if I say vertex style arrow light pink.
That won't affect the label.
Yeah, which is good. That's exactly what I want. Right? So this is what I want. I just want a less obscure way than doing, I mean, does this work in general, or is that going to break in this case here? Do you understand my question?
Right. But I mean, the one of the key differences is that the label don't actually know the size and all the appropriate placement. I mean, that's the main key difference.
Okay, so this is a mess, right? Look at that. That's garbage, right? So we need to be able to decide between these two cases, right? We need to either be able to say, we've got at the nodes here a pure node that is its shape, it's this, it's that, or the other, or we're using a label, we're using the label as the node designator, right? Which is what we're not doing here. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay, so I think we've got the two choices. Either, and I mean, right. I mean, we somehow have got to be able to switch off the thing that says use that node designator. I can't even tell in that one there. It's probably slicing it, isn't it? It doesn't go to the right place. Those lines don't go to the right place. They go to the circle. Correct?
I'm not sure about your question.
Look, see that line? It doesn't stop. In this case, the line would
Right.
stop at the edge of the word. In this case, it goes to the circle, right?
Yes.
The circle is the main, graphical thing, right?
Right.
Okay, so that's the problem we've got. So what we've got is a situation where we've got to be able to say, I think we've got, go ahead.
I mean, I mean, we kind of have partially solved it when we added the plot team name label and so.
No, doesn't work. Doesn't work. Not interested. We got to have an actual way to do this.
No, what I mean is that
secret handshake way to do it.
No, I mean, what you probably want is kind of something similar we did for plotting, which we can implement in this case. Actually, for vertex shape function goes to name, so that it actually.
What did we do for plotting? What did we do for plotting?
So if you, take one of the example and you do plot team goes to name labeled, which was one of your requests, it actually tried to
plot. What kind of plot?
So sorry, the graphics. Sorry, the graph. If you build a graph and then you add plot team.
Sorry, so I make a graph like this. Well, here I'm making which graph? I make this graph.
Or the random, right? Or the random graph, and then you put plot team goes to.
What? Where is it? Where is it? Where is
Press
it?
that. Maybe extend the whole thing.
Oh,
In the full list.
No. No. This is wrong.
Stephen,
Yeah.
everywhere in plot theme, only the primary themes are listed, at least by default.
Okay, that clearly the ones that are specific to the wrapper should be listed early. John?
That is not clear in general.
You'll never find them otherwise. I had no frigging idea there was a plot theme other than the standard ones for graph. I don't agree with you. Why would we not want to, we could mix. We could have 4 of the standard ones. We could have a more there. I don't know, but we got to have the custom ones. Otherwise, nobody's ever going to know they're there.
I mean, this is just a data issue. We have the ability to do something like this, and we do it for some options, like method, for example.
Right, but these guys are claiming it's a policy issue, basically.
Yeah,
because there are literally dozens, if not hundreds, of themes. I mean, it would just not be useful to list them.
No, Itai, I'm not saying you list every theme for every wrapper. If this was geo list plot or something, right, you absolutely are not listing a named node theme, right?
But right. But even the one, well, I don't know how many graph heads, but the ones which are applicable to every single plot is literally dozens, if not hundreds.
I'm aware. I'm saying the ones that are specific to this need to be listed early.
And can you open up the arrows at the bottom? Because I think those are the first set after the major themes.
Yeah, well, then they're just in the wrong order. So let's fix it. Because nobody's going to know. If it's below the fold, nobody's going to bother to look there. Because they're going to say, I know what's here. It's the standard themes. That's all I need to know.
So which ones do you think should be higher?
I think, like a search engine, it's got to mix and match. It's got to lead you. No,
Steve,
it's got.
which one are you claiming should be higher?
Well, you tell me what the one that's relevant here is. The one that doesn't appear to be here. Name label. I don't see it here. Do you see it here?
Well, we can't see the complete list.
Right? It would be between labeled graph. I mean, large graph and index labeled.
Well, those are the 3 1. Too much. I mean, we have 4 of them, including the main name labeled.
Well, where's name labeled? Where is it? Where is it, Charles? Where is it?
I don't know.
You told me it's the main one, but the main one seems to have been dropped. Okay.
I mean, that's a bug.
Okay.
Because...
All right. Okay, fine. So there's a collection of bugs here. That's quite nice.
Yeah.
I didn't have no idea that existed.
No, Stephen, you forgot because you asked this, Stephen, and we implemented it for you. So,
all right, okay. Well, probably in the 6 months between when I asked for it and when it actually got implemented, I forgot about it. But that's nice.
Can you look at the documentation for graph? I'm just curious.
Can I ask why vertex label function by default doesn't look like name labeled? I mean, this little outline is quite nice, whether or not you have the white background.
You mean the name version of plot?
Right. When you did vertex,
it might look like that, but that might not look good. And oh, by the way, for goodness sake, we got to get rid of those stupid background colors for the entities that somehow crept in, apparently for some people, but not others.
Because you demanded that.
I somehow I got it wrong, or I was misinterpreted. Let's go with I got it wrong.
Okay.
Okay, it's a bad idea.
I mean, if we want to just restore the old traditional form, which was just the name with no background, I mean, I presume, Nick.
I think we should just do that.
Nick, I presume that's a trivial change to change it back.
I think Nick had a drop off, but I can check with him on
Yeah.
that.
I don't know if that's a Nick thing or a Tony thing, but I presume that's a trivial change
Right, but when they change it back, okay, could they please look at what caused the change to be made to what it is now in the first place, just to be sure that we're not missing something.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I don't remember what the original motivation was, other than the fact that you thought it was wrong that the traditional form was.
Well, and I think I just didn't think through what the implications of changing it would be. I think I was looking at one particular case, and it could very well be that one case still makes sense. It's seeping into everything doesn't make sense.
Okay, well, we can look into that.
Okay, but let's come back to this. So you can change the name version of vertex shape function all you want. It's still not going to solve the problem because it's doing something different. It's not going to allow you to have these additional overlay styles, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This does, but has other uglinesses, which we don't want. So, I mean, to me.
Sorry, what's the ugliness that you're complaining about?
Oh, I mean, like for example, what happens if I want the border here to be dotted?
I see.
I'm toast then.
But
Form?
But
The directive of pink dotted.
What?
But when you say dotted, I mean, you're assuming that actually, or assume that is a circle. It may not be a circle. It may not be.
I know. So what we want is this thing is essentially okay. Let me.
Right, but what about my suggestion that you replace pink with directive of pink, dotted?
I don't think it will work. I mean, if you say edge form of dotted, pink, I don't think that will work.
Well, I didn't say edge form.
Well, I know, but how are you going to do it? I mean, if you say pink, dotted, no, it's just.
I said directive of pink, dotted.
I can't imagine that will work. It will make no. If it did anything,
wrap the dotted in edge form.
Okay, but if it did anything, it will. Okay, fine.
But my claim is that why do you expect it to work?
Because
it did work.
Because it worked.
No, it works. It's fine. But what I mean is that if it doesn't work, I won't claim that is a bug. That's the key thing. If you want to manipulate the shape of an edge, you have to build it.
Okay, guys.
Right, but we're not talking about. Given that there is a vertex style thing that affects, tries to do something sensible with. I haven't defined a custom, edge vertex shape function, and there is something called vertex style. I think it should apply the style to the elements where it makes sense, which it does in this case. I'm answering Charles's question.
Okay, I've got a suggestion here. Okay, vertex shape function is a fine thing. It's a low-level thing. It's great. There's no problem with it, but it is not a user-level thing for most users. Okay, by the time you descend it to that level, you're calculating everything. You're calculating sizes and this and that and the other and so on. I think what we need is a thing that is called, I don't know what it's called. Let's just make up a name. It's not a good name, right? That basically is going to say for every vertex, how should that vertex be rendered? The complete enchilada of every vertex, which means it's a disk with a, whatever it is. I don't know. I mean, maybe this isn't right either, but
it's what we call vertex shape.
Well, but we don't have a vertex shape. We do have a vertex shape. So what? Well, now I'm totally confused. What happens if I now say, I see. The problem is that vertex, okay. All right. So if we said vertex shape arrow automatic, okay, just like we can say vertex label arrow automatic, if we said vertex shape arrow automatic means label it with its name. You see what I'm saying?
Isn't vertex shape goes to automatic the default?
Yes, that's the default.
That's very unfortunate. But I mean, look, vertex shape arrow name would already be a good start here. You see what I'm saying? And then maybe we get the whole solution, right? If vertex shape arrow name seems like a reasonably civilized way to get to this. Charles, do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
It doesn't.
Why vertex shape instead of vertex shape function, since vertex shape function already has named settings?
Because vertex shape function trumps all the other things. It blows away vertex style, right? Vertex shape presumably does not blow away vertex style. Do you see what I'm saying?
Well, try it and let's find out.
Yeah, let's check. But I mean, I think here, so if I say, okay, vertex shape. Okay, are they going to be pink? Well, they're definitely very small. Okay, well, that's wrong. What that did is wrong.
Well, that's not clear to me, right? Because you gave it a shape with a color.
Right. What would it do with an image?
Well, fair enough. Okay, but so let's say I don't do that. Let's say vertex shape goes to hello there. I have to leave at the moment. Okay. Well, apart from the fact that it doesn't have the performance goal set correctly, which should be automatic, Charles, in a case like this. Do you agree? Oh, for God's sake, it still didn't work. You see, it faked it out. Look, something's wrong here.
Well, what are you complaining about?
The fact that these things don't touch. The fact that there's a virtual circle there.
Image padding and other additional things, which when we generate it from that.
Yeah, which we can't do, which we cannot do. And then it just screws up completely, right? So that's wrong. So, but if we could look, if vertex shape worked correctly and had a special name, which would be nice if it was automatic, but that's, maybe it's name, I don't know. Then we might have something reasonable here.
Right.
Charles, does that seem like?
I don't understand why this isn't a different setting for vertex label, like, inline name or something.
Because vertex label doesn't address, there's two things here. There's the appearance of the vertex, and there is how the vertex is labeled. Okay, look at this picture.
My claim is that vertex shape goes to name is wrong because the shape of the vertex you see, it's the label that goes inside of it.
Okay, but look at this case here.
Okay. Right. I'm saying that vertex label needs and maybe vertex label can't control this well enough, but maybe inline name will also resize the shape around it, right? If vertex shape goes to automatic, and then you specify, vertex name goes to, inline label or inline name or something like that. Vertex label goes to inline name, then the vertex shape should resize to properly enclose the label.
All right. Yeah, I mean, there's an argument for this. Listen, I have to run, unfortunately, but Toby, maybe you guys do you want to continue? Maybe you guys can make progress on this. I need to go.
Okay.
I mean, I see the problem. We'll try to figure that out.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. See you later.